And we feel that at Sade Sate time. We want to sort of solve things, but there seems to be a stumbling block after a stumbling block. But all this is for ultimate, huge spiritual purpose. It can take years for us to get to identify the stumbling blocks and challenges that Saturn actually had lined up for us just before we were born. And it can take years for us to learn how they really actually need to be worked with. We might want to blind ourselves to them. We might want to deny them. We might want to put a stronger face on ourselves. We might feel ashamed of the issues that are stacked up, rather than facing them and actually solving them and healing with them. But it's only by identifying and working with our Saturn scripts and experiences we can achieve fuller perception and better management of them. Each of our planets has a particular energy and is part of our karma. Karma is the life script, good and bad, that we ran up in our previous lives, from which our higher self chose a selection for us to work with this lifetime. The higher self made this selection just after our death at the end of our last life. And some of our karmas, of course, don't just stem from our last life, but in fact go back thousands of years. I've done past life readings, had them given to me. I don't do them. And amazingly, different past life readers have come up with the same past life and the same issue, repeated, for example, back to 3000 BC and 1200 AD and a recent life, that sort of thing. That's how they can run. Some of the karmas chosen are actually, of course, not these challenging ones, but good and successful ones. Achievements we made in past lives that we have the chance to further perfect in this life. And it's very helpful to know what those special karmic skills are. Other of our karmas we have to work with in this life are scripts that we really got wrong in previous lifetimes. So we have to particularly experience those again, horrible though it is, in this lifetime. And we incarnate with the divine purpose of working on healing those issues in this lifetime. And doing this is a crucial fate and destiny purpose. It's not escapable. If we don't do the work this lifetime, we'll have to do it in a future life. And this lifetime can be really messed up by our failure to do the work. Just out of useful interest, here's some other divisional charts or Varga charts derived from your birth chart, which are so useful to work with at your time of Sade Sate. So the D24, the Siddhamsha chart, is about letting go of our illusions, which are the domain of our 12th house, if you're just looking at the birth chart. So the D24 is about as much as unlearning as it is learning. Unlearning what was imposed on us wrongly or maintained by the pride of our mind or put in place by the conditioning of our upbringing and our society. The religious background in which we were brought up, etc. But the D24 chart shows key unfortunate conditioning that needs to be got rid of. It offers crucial guidance when you're trying to work out what on earth are the Saturn energies I'm having to deal with now in my Sade Sate. The D24 chart is so helpful because it describes to us what is our ability to access higher consciousness and divine knowledge. What is your special skill? The D13, the Trimshamsha chart, is so crucial to know about also during the challenges of our Sade Sati period. You see, the D13 is the chart of our greatness, how we envision ourselves to be our superstar with true skills. We need to get a picture of our greatness. We do. You know, each of us needs to understand our greatness destination set for us in this lifetime, often through focus, discipline and application. Through this exercise, though this exercise is such a lot of work for me to do, I can include it in your Sade Sate reading. A chart that's an enormous amount to do, so I need to charge €100 on the side for it, is the D91 chart. This is so crucial to know about during the challenges of your Sade Sati period. Your D91 chart answers the question, how do I achieve my greatness through focus, discipline and application? How do I achieve it? What is it? What's its nature? It's a goal set for us in this lifetime, but it's quite a lot of work to analyse it. What is the super you? In addition to the very useful input from the Varga or divisional charts, I want to say that it's so important to do ancestral healing work. It's so important to know our ancestral scripts. They play a big part in the karmas we carry. And our Saturn return or our nodal return will make us face this fact. And we do need to do things like building an ancestral altar and doing ancestral healing work. And I can cover all this in your Sade Sate reading, when Saturn will actually very likely be throwing ancestral issues in your face to be understood and sorted out. And a colleague of mine, Claire Louise Nifton, does ancestral family tree healing sessions, and I've put the link in the accompanying blog post. So I'm just trying to turn the page. Past lives. Of course, knowing something about our past lives is also crucial. It can be so useful to get past life readings, especially at a time of Sade Sate, or for example at a time like nodal return. I'm in Sade Sati now, with Saturn having started through my 8th house, Ashtamashani on top for the first 2.5 years. And when Saturn was doing that, he opposed my 2nd house, which essentially is our value issues and our voice issues arising from those. And one of the things that happened to me was that I lost my voice during that actual period. From December 24, my voice was not up to doing videos. I'd have caused myself great harm according to the hospital. But the divine purpose of this was for me to be able to learn about the situation and see where I was using my voice wrongly, where I had been given a sort of false voice, to fit parental aspirations, priests' aspirations, nuns' aspirations, all that sort of thing. And now to seek to come into my true voice. Now my wife Maggie Pashley does past life journey sessions, so her link to book those is in the accompanying blog. And my colleague Jonathan Finn does wonderful past life journey sessions as well, and his link's in the blog post. So, successfully working with Saturn's energies is so additionally helped by the insights of the key divisional charts, your ancestral scripts and your past life issues. That has to be remembered. You see, Saturn carries stern energies of death and illness, of karmic scripts that are dreadful, as well as, much less awful scripts. But these are scripts, it's essential we come to be able to identify and heal them and perfect the way we deal with them. And Sade Sati forces us. We shouldn't ignore Saturn's pressure during Sade Sate. You see, our negative Saturn scripts from this lifetime and before can block us and harm us in what we feel is our identity, in what we feel is our life path. But the divine purpose of suffering those scripts is wonderful, that we learn to identify where we got it wrong and thus undo the negative karmas that we ran up in previous lives, some of them stretching back thousands of years. You see, the actual nature of Saturn is to call us to face our key karmas, each of us, especially during our Sade Sate period. If we don't do this, we sense something is wrong much of the time. We're nervous, we're anxious, on and off, almost all the time. We need to somehow get to see what scripts, what attitudes, what behavioural patterns Saturn is now calling us to identify clearly and heal. The fear and the tension from Saturn are positive if we see them impelling us to heal. We must not live in denial, and some people proudly do. That will really catch up with us in this life. Challenging things will happen to us, especially in Sade Sate, due to the difficult energies of Saturn. But what we have to do is face them, identify them clearly, and change and remove such scripts from our life. Certain healing methods can really help us. Going down into what is in our unconscious and our shadow side can really help us. Working with divine figures that are strong and loving can really help us. Tarot work can reveal what's actually going on. Shamanic journeying can be a wonderful gateway to deep perception, and I often add to it Sethia, the Norse practice of weaving in an intention. So you can book a wonderful add-on shamanic journey with me in addition to your astrology reading. Go to the PayPal button at the foot of the shamanism page on my Druid Forest School website and book the shamanic journey. So basically you have to find out what is right and effective for you. In fact, doing my journey to the abyss can really help you by setting up so valuable death and rebirth healing experience. That's on my Star Wheel Astrology website, Journey into the Abyss. So let's just review the detail of our Sade Sate period. There are 3 phases of Sade Sate. The first phase is when Saturn enters the sign before your moon. You may experience financial or emotional challenges and the need to simplify your life. The second phase is when Saturn crosses the sign of your natal moon. This is the most intense part. Deep emotional and karmic lessons surface to be recognised, to be dealt with. The third phase is when Saturn moves to the sign after your moon, we begin to rebuild, hopefully applying the wisdom learned and moving towards maturity and stability. And as I've said, for more precision, Sade Sati is also timed by Saturn's passage through the 7 nakshatras, or lunar mansions, as they're often called. 3 before your moon's nakshatra, your moon's nakshatra, and 3 after your moon's nakshatra. And actually these provide a far more accurate map of the emotional and spiritual changes you'll experience. And as I've said, you need to draw on both Vedic and Western astrology. Whilst Sade Sati is a Vedic concept, Western astrology adds depth to its interpretation. For example, Saturn's aspects show which areas of life are being tested. The nature of your moon and your mothering, thereby, reveal your emotional response to the challenge. Asteroids like Lilith and Sedna, and certainly Chiron as well, can expose hidden wounds or survival patterns that are activated during this period. Understanding both systems gives you a full picture of what Saturn is teaching you and how to turn difficulty into awakening. So, the purpose of the Sade Sate challenge can feel like descending into a dark tunnel. But be aware, it's also a sacred initiation. It strips away illusions that you cannot reconnect with your true self, your dharma and your spiritual strength, because you're holding those illusions. So this is your opportunity to face karmic patterns head on, to heal ancestral and emotional wounds effectively, to discover your authentic voice and values, to rebuild your life on stronger, more real spiritual foundations. Guidance and support is so often needed to help us through our Sade Sate. I've experienced 3 Sade Sate periods in my own life, I'm in the 3rd, and I've guided many others through theirs. So it's about understanding the deeper meaning of Saturn's lessons. They can transform fear into wisdom. So book your Sade Sate reading with me and get expert insight into your personal Saturn Moon journey. Go to my Star Wheel Astrology buy page and maybe, there's possible add-ons for me and other people. So all blessings to our crucial work. Thank you.